Hasbro has some guts. I mean, you gotta give the devil his due. I have issues with Transformers Earthspark, but to model your psychopathic, xenocidal, bloodthirsty maniac after a real-life person, that takes some chutzpah. Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today, we are going to take a look at Transformers Earthspark, specifically at the main human villain of the show. Now, there are going to be some spoilers for the show, so if you haven't figured out who the main big bad on the human side of the equation is in Transformers Earthspark, you can click away from this video by going and checking out the links below to get yourself a copy of Humans Are Weird, Let's Work It Out, where we get a different kind of human crazy, more amusing than traumatic. But let's get down to business. Transformers Earthspark main human villain, who turns out to be Executive Agent Croft. In the comic books, she's based off a well-known established character that goes all the way back to the mid-80s, Circuit Breaker, well-known for xenophobic tendencies, trying to eliminate all Cybertronians on Earth, but this Circuit Breaker takes it another step beyond that, trying to eliminate all Cybertronians at the source, which is not very logical and thought out, showing that despite her calm, reasonable facade that she maintains, despite her having the mental stability to become the leader of an entire agency, she's just flat out crazy, short-sighted, and doesn't realize that with a species that's scattered out across multiple galaxies, destroying the homeworld is really only going to infuriate them. All right. Well, where am I going with this? So let's pop back. I am house sitting at my friend's, chilling in her hot tub, and my friend happens to have a Netflix account. So I turn on the TV, and this is all well above my pay grade here, and I'm just, house sitting, dog sitting for a friend. I got a beautiful golden retriever hopping around, and I decide to see what in the way of new anime is on Netflix. And I finally settled on Gamera Rebirth. Great show. It's about the giant turtle kaiju that protects humanity, and I give it 2 thumbs up. Absolutely worth a watch, as long as you can get through the mandatory Shonen Jump bullying before they become best friend scenes. I mean, I don't really consider that a spoiler for that show, but I totally enjoyed the show. I, in fact, enjoyed it so much that I watched it all the way through, as fast as I could, as fast as my schedule allowed. I got to the end, and in the final scene, one of the secondary characters fulfilled his arc. It was a growth and development arc, and he had been, up to this point, a sort of perfect civil servant archetype, and he craved the stability of the civil service job. That was his security blanket, and at the end of the series, he throws off the shackles of his insecurities and launches out into the private sector. And there's this final scene at the end where he's standing there giving a presentation on this new technology that he's invented and developed in his marketing. And he looked, of course, just like Steve Jobs. Now, there's a reason for this. You know all who Steve Jobs is, like founder of Apple, I think it was. He's really famous for wearing that black turtleneck outfit and having a certain presence on the stage. There's a reason that Steve Jobs had that outfit. They are very, very useful for many reasons in many different fields. Primarily, what you generally see them on is sign language interpreters and presenters at TED Talks. The reason is, by wearing a long-sleeved dark shirt with a high neck, you highlight the emotive part of your face, and people can see your hands moving directly in front of your body. The goal is not to have a black turtleneck, it is to have a turtleneck that is a highly contrasting color that does not distract people. And because many presentation fields are often black, this allows the bulk of your body to fade into almost non-existence, and it allows people to focus on your hands and on your face, because that's where you want them focusing when you are giving a presentation. I have taught several lower level sign language classes, and You always dress in a dark, long-sleeved shirt for exactly this reason. So there's a reason that Steve Jobs cultivated that image, because these are base standard things for presentations. But Steve Jobs, due to the dawn of the internet and the ease of access of filming and everybody having access to those images, Steve Jobs became kind of the cultural flashpoint, the icon that people imprinted on. And James Bond is famous for this. Now, this is also just in general, that specific style of black turtleneck that we see in the Gamera anime actually isn't what Steve Jobs wore, but rather the one that the guy in the anime was wearing was a very standard black polyester turtleneck. It could also be cotton. But if your organization has a uniform, I guarantee you that shirt is an option, because it doesn't clash with anything. Black goes with everything. It's really, really warm. You put on that black turtleneck and you just increased your insulation. I have at least 2 of them. My dad has several of them. My mom has several of them, but only because she stole our uniform parts, because I work for the National Park Service. As soon as the frost starts showing up every morning, you put that black turtleneck on. And every military organization has it, every police officer organization, but literally anywhere you wear a uniform. If you remember the Clone Wars, this was one of the basic standard under uniform for all of the clone troopers. It covers their entire body, protecting it from the chafing of the armor, and adds insulation. That form-fitting black turtleneck is one of the most standard pieces of clothing. It's probably replaced the white t-shirt as one of the primary standard pieces of underclothing. So this is kind of something that I know a lot about from personal experience, and something that shows up a lot. But when I'm sitting there watching this anime, Gamera, I had a thought. I'm like, why does that black turtleneck taste of villainy? Because it did. I looked at that turtleneck and I thought, villain. I'm like, that's weird. I know Steve Jobs was controversial, but he's not very villainous. And sign language interpreters don't have a reputation for villainy. And the clone troopers, which is also a relevant cultural icon these days, they were usually presented as the good guys. Certainly not. They didn't do questionable things often enough to have you question their undergarments. And so I'm just scratching and going through my head. That's when my mind starts circling around Steve Jobs, because these high power tech people can get a reputation for ruthlessness. When I remember someone's attempt to clone that look. Now, raise your hand if you remember the Theranos scandal. Elizabeth Holmes. She had a bachelor's degree and a dream. She wanted to make a ton of money. And this was right during that time frame when everybody was ready to throw money at female-led STEM businesses. If you were developing a new technology, a new science, if you could market yourself as the leading female expert in the field, the opportunities for funding were there. So she came up with a scam. Now, no one's quite sure if she intended it to be a scam from the start or if she actually had these ambitions from the start, but she suggested what would have been a life-changing technology for so many people, including myself, including people I love. This was a small device, something that could fit in your pocket easily, that could fit in the palm of your hand, and it would test your blood for diseases, for the presence of drugs you're supposed to be having. Is your blood healthy? Is your blood sick? Do you need more drug? Do you need less drug? And she claimed that this tiny device could do essentially all the medical tests. Currently, you need a wide range of machinery to do these medical tests. You need highly trained technicians, and you need a lot of blood. You need a couple ounces of blood to do most of these tests. And as I can tell you from my own time in the doctor's office, that's a very unpleasant process. And this was the kind of technology that could make people's lives better, that could lower the cost of medicine tremendously. And this is what she was promising. She went up there, she got up on that stage, she got in that black turtleneck, she cultivated this very, very Steve Jobs-like image, because the mental image of Steve Jobs was the mental image of the high-level tech person at that time. She lowered her voice. She stood away a certain way. She had certain mannerisms. She cultivated an image, and people and investors threw money at her. Then it turned out that her device did not work at all, that she was taking people's blood, going in the back room and running it through the traditional testing machines to get her results. People got false positives. People got false negatives. This was a serious scandal. She wasn't just cheating people out of money. She was endangering people's lives, not just in the moment with these false positives and negatives from the medical standpoint, but the resources that all of these companies were throwing at her could have gone to more legitimate technology companies that were developing at the time. So, no surprise, she went on trial, she went to jail. And I realized that was where that taste of villainy had come from when I was looking at that black turtleneck. And then I realized why the taste of villainy was so very strong and so very recent. The Executive Agent Croft from Transformers Earthspark was clearly visually based on Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos. And then if you look up at the screen, I've got the pictures to prove it. When you actually look at what is going on here, you can see that they're approximately the same height. They're approximately the same shape. Their coloring is approximately the same. Their eye color is the same. The thickness and grooming level of their eyebrows is the same. The shape of their eyes is the same. The shape of their foreheads is the same. The Agent Croft character wears her hair not only in the same manner that Elizabeth Holmes wore her hair in one of her most iconic photos, but her hair, Croft's hair has the same weight. It lays the same. It's parted in the same place. It extends the same distance above her head. And if you look at the makeup that they have on, the thickness and angle of the eyeliner that Agent Croft is wearing is the same as the thickness and angle of the eyeliner that Elizabeth Holmes is wearing. Look at the shape of their lips, and look at the length of the nose, the width of the base of the nose. The only difference in the presentation of these two images is that the Croft character, the bridge of her nose is slightly lower than the bridge of Elizabeth Holmes' nose. They even have the same shaped ears. And then you get into their movement and their mannerisms in the active clips. They move the same. And and as you can see, many of the standing positions that we see Agent Croft in are clearly taken directly from the promotional photos of Elizabeth Holmes. This is a fascinating comparison. And I'm scratching my head, because when you know you are writing an actual xenocidal maniac, a literally bloodthirsty. Remember, one of the main plot points is that Agent Croft was constantly trying to get people's energon, their blood, and doing scientific experiments on it. When you make your comparison that on the nose, you might be risking a bit of legal backlash. Now, it's entirely possible that Elizabeth Holmes has no idea that this exists, but it's out there now for her to see it. And she might well understand the Streisand effect and just be simply ignoring it or not caring. But that is quite the risk that Hasbro is taking on itself, and I am just amused and perplexed by this. And I'm beginning to wonder, the black turtleneck is such a standard tool that I don't think it really has a reputation to be tarnished. But I am wondering if I felt the flavor of villainy when seeing a presenter in a black turtleneck, will other people feel that association? Has the black turtleneck's relationship begin to be tarnished, starting with Elizabeth Holmes and then apparently the copies of Elizabeth Holmes? Probably not. Its design is almost 100% a result of necessary functionality, and it's not like they're going to change it. But I do find this just fascinating. One, that a company like Hasbro was willing to take that risk and copy so one-for-one someone's presence and appearance. And two, that I'm kind of surprised that there isn't more talk about this, but then again, I didn't recognize it till I was watching some obscure anime and a random thought process made it click. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Do you think that Executive Agent Croft was deliberately coded and copied after Elizabeth Holmes of the Theranos scandal? Do you think Hasbro is going to get in trouble for this? When you see someone up there on that stage in that presentation uniform, do you feel that flavor of villainy? I'd really, really like to hear feedback on this. Leave a comment below telling me what you think. And hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers. Do you love awesome science fiction books? Of course you do. If you check out the links below the video, you can get yourself a copy of Comedy or Tragedy. Humans Are Weird. I have the data. Humans Are Weird. We took a vote, and Humans Are Weird, Let's Work It Out are the 3 comedy short story books available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play. There's even some copies at Powell's Books, the famous used bookstore in Portland, Oregon. Dying Embers, dragons, aliens, and things that go boom in the night, and soon Flying Sparks, more dramatic traditional science fiction novels, are also available at Amazon. Flying Sparks is still on the pre-order page. If you want a copy, you can email me by contacting the website to pre-order yourself a copy. It's still being edited. So check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of some wonderful science fiction.